Is the baby in jail? Baby's in jail. No case. Who's that? Huh? What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If you can hear this growling, it's a baby. He just wants to play all the time. So it's been a while since I've been on the channel. I broke my DJI, so I haven't been able to vlog as much as I wanted to. And you know, that's just an excuse because I started this channel up by just recording on my phone, so I could just continue to do that or use this Sony that I have, right? Just pure laziness. It's a situation, you get like used to doing things a certain way, and then as soon as you can't do it that certain way, you're like, oh, I shouldn't do it at all. Just excuses, really. So today is going to be a high carb day as well as a leg day. So I haven't recorded this leg day in a long time. I tried to record it on my DJI last week, but then I broke it. The DJI essentially fell out my bag, smashed off the ground, and the actual, like, the screen broke, right? So the actual camera itself still works, but I can't see if it's looking at the right thing. So like half the video ended up like looking away from me and I wasn't even focused at all, or I was recording my rest periods versus the actual exercise. So, you know, bit of a fail on that side of things. But yeah, today, high carb day, as I mentioned. So it's been a while since I've like put up like it kind of, well, it hasn't been a while, but it's been a while since I've posted in general, and my calories have went up significantly. So today, 250 grams of protein, 600 grams of carbs, and 70 grams of fat. So I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to hit that today. My body weight is pretty much the exact same, still around 88 kilos. And this morning is 89, but on average it's been 88. So yeah, look, we'll hopefully get this body weight moving, hopefully start gaining some muscle, hopefully start making some big progressions in the gym. But today's going to be fun because there's not just a high carb day, it's not just a leg day, but there's also an exciting delivery that's coming for me today, which I'll be making sure to show you because it's something I've been wanting to get for a long time. Anyway, time for a walk. Alright, it is lunchtime now, so check-ins done for the day. Obviously you saw me make meal one, pancakes, and then we have this, which is my pre-workout meal. See it there. So pre-workout meal is rice, potatoes, green beans, chicken, and we also have some honey, some almond butter, and some chili oil. Now this here comes to 56 grams of protein, 13 grams of fat, and 137 grams of carbs. So So far, left in the day, well, half the majority of my carbohydrates is still to hit, but I do have it planned in, so I'm not going to give away how I'm going to hit them. Okay, one very important part of today's carbohydrate intake is the intra. So we're going to have 15 grams of my recovered EAAs. So this is the OMG flavour, so it's orange, mango, and is it grapefruit? Maybe grapefruit. We're going to assume it's grapefruit. It's nice anyway. Probably one of my favourite ones. I think this particular brand has the nicest flavours, the strongest flavours, and as well it also has some added potassium, some added sodium in it as well, which is important for when you're sweating in the gym. Then you're going to add in 30 grams of this, 30 grams of intra, which is essentially just 30 grams of straight carbohydrates. There we go. And before we head to the gym, we're also going to have one of these bad boys, the GOAT. Alright, we are on our way to the gym. It is leg day, as I mentioned. I haven't recorded this session in a while. It's been an interesting week so far. So if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that as of Monday I have stopped vaping. Yes, I've been vaping the last couple of months. Not something I share on this or on my Instagram that I do it. And one of the reasons for it being is I know it's an unhealthful behaviour, and anytime you share something, like you're sharing part of your life, you're sharing part of, especially on social media, and like, you know, I hate to think that I'm a person of influence, but some people are influenced by me. And I would rather them be influenced by positive actions versus anything else. But say for example, if I'm there vaping away during the day, some people may see that and say, okay, well, that guy's in good shape, he's strong, and he's vaping, so that must mean it's okay. He does it, so he's probably doing it, and he knows all this stuff. He knows that he'd know if it's bad for you or not. So he, by virtue of that, probably thinks it's pretty safe to do so. And that's not necessarily the case. Like, we can, like, you can be in good shape, you can be focused on health and a lot of things, but still have bad habits. You know, there's a lot of PTs out there, a lot of coaches out there who are inconsistent with training. They know training is good for them. They have poor relationships with food. They know that having a good relationship with food it would be better, but they still do these things anyway. And for me, like, vaping was just a case of, like, Emma was on prep. Emma took up vaping to decrease her hunger symptoms during prep, because it does help to curb your appetite. I would vape from time to time. At time to time, I'd vape all the time on nights out. No issue with that, right? I'm fucking getting langered, getting pissed nights out anyway. So what's a vape on top of that? But I never vape during the day, so I already have a bit more of a lax attitude towards vaping anyway. And then once I started doing it during prep, and I was dieting as well, I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind having a bit of a blow of that. You know, just curb this little bit of hunger that I'm feeling right now. And then you start doing it, and then lo and behold, nicotine is addictive. Before you know it, you are using it all the time. Like, literally every like, once I wake up, have my coffee, start vaping throughout the day, and I could definitely start to realise that it's becoming a problem, because I was like, it's taking me longer to do things. I was starting to use it more and more frequently, and then as well started to get like a more kind of chesty coughs. So I haven't been kind of thinking like the last few weeks about stopping it, but Emma now is getting her titties done at the start of November, so she has to give up nicotine. So when she's giving it up, I decided, you know what, I'll give it up too. Now, I'm still going to vape on nights out, because again, I'm going to be doing other stuff on nights out as well. Like, my stag is coming up in 3 weeks time. We're going to Amsterdam dance event, so, you know, vaping would be the least of my concerns with that. But during the day, just not acceptable, because like, even like the last 2 days, right, where I stopped doing it, I've found that I've been drinking more water, keep myself better hydrated. My food has started to taste nicer, which is interesting. Like, I didn't notice that my taste buds
being dampened would be a thing from vaping, but it has. I've noticed that I'm getting more pumps during the day, right? So obviously one kind of thing that does come from vaping and smoking, anything, is your circulation can get impaired, and blood flow, oxygen flow. But I've found like the last few days, like even like yesterday was a rest day, I just felt like I was like having like a pump all day around, all day long, and even today, like just feel like just veiny as fuck. So that's an interesting improvement already. And one thing I'm actually really interested to see is, come on, Grandad. One thing I'm really actually interested to see is like when I'm in the gym now here, I'm training legs, how much of my performance has improved. I know it's only been 3 days since I stopped, but it's something I'm interested to see. Now, just got to the gym there, so I can actually round off what I was trying to say there. I'm feeling pretty positive about this being a pretty smooth process. Again, the kind of big challenge for me really is actually just when I come home from my SAG, for example, and the most important thing for me to do in that context is just once I get in, just try out the vape, because my issue before has been come home for an event like that, a stag, a wedding, and just continue to vape and let that become a habit day to day. Whereas I just need to separate it from the event. So once the fun is over, the vape goes in bin, I return back to normality, and then, you know, I can just get on with my life. Whereas that was the thing that would like kind of instill the habit and harder to break away from it. And then as well, I like people at different levels of tolerances towards it, like addictiveness of things. Like I definitely feel like I have an ability to think myself out of doing like bad decisions or unhelpful behaviors. One interesting thing from like the last few days has been anytime I've gotten like the urge to vape, right? I know the urge is coming on because there's just like something inside me that just wants to grab the vape and just take a drag. And noticing that, acknowledging that, and kind of trying to actually pinpoint what that feeling is. Like, what's that feeling that is making me want to do it? And for me, it's definitely been, it's been almost like a stress thing, where I've been trying to like reduce stress or even reduce some level of boredom. Like say for example, if I'm focused on a task that I have to do for a few hours that doesn't have a short-term payoff at all, say for example, it could be doing like a few hours of check-ins, it could be like writing loads of programs, you know, it takes a while before I get through them, and then I'll get the reward of like being finished and being satisfied with my work, right? It just takes a lot longer. And I'd find then in those moments I'm like really wanting to reach for vape. Or even today, right, specifically, the internet is being very bad, and when the internet's being very bad, I get very, very, very frustrated, right? And in those moments, that's the times when I'd like reach for vape and like, you know, have to soothe me. And just being able to acknowledge that and like notice that, okay, I do that when I'm frustrated, but what can I do when I'm frustrated as well? Well, in that context, I just have to let myself be frustrated. Like there's nothing, like you don't need a pacifier for every single emotion, you know? I don't need a pacifier for when I'm feeling frustrated. I'm just like, okay, the internet is being bad, well, what can I do? I can plug it out and plug it back in again, that's one option. Or I can just say, hey, this is no less annoying than it was last week. You just don't have a vape now to fucking to soothe yourself with, and that's okay. You can just be annoyed that the internet is bad. That's it. It doesn't need some kind of remedy. So yeah, it's just kind of like noticing those little kind of things popping up. It's gonna be interesting, because like in previous times when I've used a vape, like I've maybe used it for like a week or two, but like this has been like, again, pretty much constant since, let's say, April. So yeah, just not a good habit. Just not a good habit to keep up for my health long term. So yeah, just better off to just ditch it and bin it. But yeah, we're in the gym now, so I'm gonna go in, train, make these legs grow, and of course, better blood flow, better oxygen delivery means I'm gonna have bigger legs by the end of it. Alright, talk soon. Alright people, we are in the gym. Time for leg day. Of course, I'm doing voiceover or camera over, one of them. Yeah, decided I am just gonna leave the mic'd up sessions for a while. I just find that when I'm doing them, I get too distracted. I can't focus as well. And when I can't focus as well, I can perform as well. If I can't perform as well, I'm unlikely to progress as well. So it's just really important for me across like the next couple of months. I have until April, until my wedding, and that's as long as we have planned for this like gaining phase. I don't know what the phases are after that, leading into my prep in 2027, but that's as long as I have now until for an off season. I just want to ensure that like as many sessions as I can just be locked in. And one of those sessions that I really need to be locked in and focused for is legs. And legs are a body part which I just need to bring up, and I need to bring the intensity to each session. So might have to go without the mic'd up sessions for a while, but these are going to do just as good. So yeah, starting off with some cable crunches. Cable crunches, they've actually gotten to a point where I am no longer really progressing them in load or sets or reps even. Like, to be honest, my abs at the moment, they're as developed as I really realistically need them to be. So I'm more so using it as like a warm-up exercise prior to getting into legs. And as well, it's just becoming a bit of a hassle getting into position for the cable crunch, because having to like strap a 30 kilo weight to my waist to anchor myself into position, because yeah, my body weight is less than the stack now, so that's it's a downside of being strong, I guess. So then after that, into some calves. So still doing calves 3 times per week. So the start of 3 sessions across the week is abs and calves. Again, I more so kind of think about these as like warm-ups. Like the abs for sure is like more of a warm-up, kind of getting a kind of good feel for how my brace is before I start the session. If there can be any abs development that comes from it, phenomenal. But as I said, my abs are already quite well developed, so I don't really need to focus on them all that much. Like certain muscles like the abs, like once they get to a certain level of like definition and deepness, you don't really need to focus on growing them as much, right? Because they're not as like, growing your abs and having a big set of abs is not going to be as like prized on stage as having a big set of legs or big set of delts, right? Once they get to a certain standard, they're good enough. Calves, another one, right? Calves, another one where like on a bodybuilding stage, like, I mean, I don't know how much judges really look at them, because you see a lot of really top tier bodybuilders who don't really have calves. There's definitely more of a proclivity for black dudes to have smaller calves for whatever reason. It's just something I've noticed. They tend to have like a longer Achilles tendon and less calves, but then everything else is just fucking blown to pieces, just huge everywhere, massive delts, massive chest, just big bully muscle. Whereas they're not typically blessed in the calves department. So it's maybe not necessarily something that we look at in bodybuilding poses. Like, I've never really looked at a bodybuilder on stage and said, hey, that person, they have a great physique, but imagine if they had better calves. It's a less important part of the package. Delts, you can see that I just did there. I'm doing delts as well 3 times a week, and I've definitely found that my delts have started to grow because of the volume and frequency that I've been doing on them. So I'm doing one day where I am doing a dumbbell lat raise. On my push day, I'm doing a machine lat raise as well as a cable lat raise, and then I'm also doing another day a cable lat raise. So one of the cable lat raise days is single arm. The day on my leg day, like here, I'm doing it bilaterally, and I had the cable set just around my kind of knee height, and that is going to have the kind of resistance just kind of start to come in around the kind of mid to lengthened range. And it's just helping me to kind of change the resistance profile a little bit more, because I am using the cables versus a dumbbell, which dumbbell is always going to be acting straight down, and the hardest part of the dumbbell lat raise is going to be towards the top. Then on to these adductors. I'm rambling too much. I'm becoming exercise behind. But yeah, adductors, have them in there twice a week. I'm doing 3 sets in total across the week to absolute failure. And it's funny because, like, the way I have my sessions very much structured now is kind of like backwards to what I would have done when I would have been starting off training. So when I would have started off training, like, I would have started off with my compound lifts, my bigger lifts, and even up to last year, right? I was doing powerlifting. I always would have started with my biggest lift first, and then I go into like isolation. Whereas I'm always doing this completely backwards. Like most of the time, people do abs at the end. Most of the time, people do calves at the end. But doing like abs and calves at the start of the session, at the start of legs especially, it means, again, they can serve the goal of being a warm up, but they're also more likely to get done. Whereas how many of you have done legs and you've gotten to the end of your leg session and you just leave off calves and abs, right? It's probably a lot of you. I've been there in the past too. So having them at the start of the session actually kind of allows me to get them in consistently with high energy, and they don't take away from anything else. But then, you can see there, do like the adductor, do like the leg curl, now into leg extension. So doing a lot more like isolation based stuff, and I guess you can make like different like theories as to why I'm doing this. But ultimately at the end of the day, right, bodybuilding, it doesn't have to be like the exercise sequencing can be a little bit more fluid with the likes of bodybuilding, because you're not as focused about like exercise specific performance relative to powerlifting, right? So if you're doing powerlifting, your squat performance, your bench performance, your deadlift performance, that's very specific to the goal of getting good at powerlifting. Whereas likes of bodybuilding here, right? Like if my leg extensions here, for example, take away from my leg press that's coming up next, it doesn't really matter all that much, because at the end of the day, I'm still taking my quads to a place where they're getting close to failure, and then I'm progressing on that from next week. So some type of adaptation is taking place so that I can perform a little bit better. So there probably is some type of muscle growth occurring. Whereas if I have the leg press before the leg extension, it's not really going to make a difference in the long run, right? If we kind of put this across like 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, if we were to swap order, there's not really going to be a major difference in terms of actual outcome. Now you could say with the likes of this, for example, and doing a shortened biased leg movement where it's going to be hardest in the short position where your quad is extending, like that could potentially just allow you to warm up your knees a little bit more before you get into this and feel a little bit more prepared. But one kind of big benefit that is actually doing for myself is reducing the amount of load that I have to use here. Okay, so if my quads are a little bit more fatigued coming into this movement, I don't have to put as many plates on the leg press. And if I'm being completely honest, I hate having to load loads of plates in leg press, so I'm happy enough if my performance is slightly reduced here. But again, it doesn't really matter, because if my performance on this exercise improves from last week to next week to the week beyond, same position of the exercise within the program, then and there's been a performance increase, there's some type of benefit that's going to be occurring. There's some type of hypertrophy or strength increase, at least, that's happening underneath the hood, and then that strength increase over time, performance increase, could lead to more muscle growth. So yeah, I think you can be a little bit more fluid with the exercise sequencing, and like again, the proof's in the pudding from like the last 5-6 months, right? This is a program I saw that AJ used a lot, from following lots of other bodybuilding coaches and looking at lots of other bodybuilding programs. It's also a style that's been used, but then in the opposite sense, the other one has been used too, where it's been compound first and then isolations later, right? It all seems to work, and this is one of the most beautiful things about training for hypertrophy. It's fluid. You can train high volume, low intensity. Not low intensity, but high volume, but moderate intensity. You can keep reps in reserve and do more sets, or you can go to failure and do less sets. You can do, as I said there, like low volume, high intensity. You can have slightly different exercise sequencing. The kind of broad strokes of it is like, is what you're doing allowing you to get reps and sets that are close to failure? You're getting sufficient amount of hard sets across the workout. You're being consistent with that workout. You're getting in a consistent amount of volume on a weekly basis, and you're having a performance increase, right? That's really what it comes down to, right? Performance increase is progressive overload occurring where the adaptations taking place, and you're meeting the demands of what your system needs by applying either more weight or more reps the following week. Are you being consistent with that training? Are you being consistent with the level of volume? And so on, right? So they're the kind of major things that we think about when it comes to training for hypertrophy, right? Make sure it's close to failure, we're progressing, we're performing better each week, and everything is being held constant or pretty consistent. The only thing that's really kind of changing over time is just our performance is getting better. If we do that for long enough, we're going to have gained a sufficient amount of muscle, or a pretty significant amount of muscle, not sufficient. Because again, I've done plenty of training styles across my last 15 years of training, and they've all worked. And a lot of times it's going to be a case of finding which style you prefer the most. A lot of times it's going to be finding the style that you prefer the best, which is going to suit your preference, and then that is going to support the likes of the consistency and the adherence over the long term, right? Versus finding the one way early on, right? Like, you'd be very lucky to find one way to train for you forever, like early on. Try different styles, right? Because again, I've tried different styles, powerlifting specific, bodybuilding specific, like this, different layouts of training, and again, they all work. So try it out. Anyway, that's it for the voiceover. Alright, we are back from the gym eventually. Alright, session wasn't too bad. I definitely do feel like on a few exercises I need to lower the weight a little bit, just because I have been, despite taking a deload like 2 weeks ago, I'm still kind of have a little bit more kind of stagnation creep up. So I think I just need a variation in loading or variation in rep ranges to just allow myself to get a little bit more momentum going with training, which is annoying, but it's not the end of the world. So, post-workout meal, 125 grams of cereal,
a nice big bowl for that. Cocoa Pops, cereal of choice. Cocoa Pops are not what they used to be. They used to be a lot sweeter. But now, since they're after bringing out all the sugar taxes, which means it's good for public health, but it's not good for the taste, really, is it? We got 125 grams. We're gonna throw in some honey. Some 15 grams of honey. Boom. And now, in this bowl, we're gonna make some protein sludge, explosion, mixed with this. So you're gonna have 50 grams. 50 grams of whey in total. Now, making the sludge, I've obviously made it plenty of times on the channel before, but what we're going to do is we're going to get almond milk and we're going to mix in about 75 grams, and that should be the perfect amount to get the nice consistency going. And there we go, that is the sludge made. My preferred way to have whey, well, preferred whey is actually creamy. This would be a close second. Shakes are okay, but they wouldn't be my preferred way to get in. I kind of like to eat more so than just drink. Lovely. And then milk on this, and that's post-workout. Lambo, Kato.
Hey, you want to finish with some glucose?
Samson, wait.
All dog stay. Punto. 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 Ambo. Umba. Ambo. Punto. Ambo.
Alright, so we are just back from Samson's training session, which was a challenging one. He wasn't being very obedient. He was just up the walls from start to finish. But we have our dinner to make. It is currently 8:30. I've got one more meal to get in. Whoa. One more meal to get in to round off this carb, well, not high carb day, just this regular day. Regular train day food. That's what it's going to be from now on. So essentially I was going to be a little bit lazy and I was just going to like have chicken and rice and just be done with it, but I was like, you know what, Shane, you have, and I don't have any vegetables, but I have some very easy to have vegetables in the freezer. So I've got my frozen onion, got my frozen garlic, I have some peas, and I have some sweet corn. So I'm just going to throw all of that onto the pan, and yeah, just, I guess, fuck my excuses, because it's going to take no extra time to prep really. Already have my chicken cooked from before when I went to dog lesson, and my rice cooked too. Again, being prepared, preparedness beats excuses every time. So yeah, I'm gonna get this made, and then it's time for bed because it is 8:30. The secret surprise that I mentioned at the very start of the video, it doesn't seem like it's gonna come true today. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday, but we'll see. But I'll keep you filled in on the page. But yeah, unfortunately, the secret surprise hasn't arrived today, even though it was meant to. But that's delivery services in Spain. What can you do? All right, here we have it. Here is dinner. The lighting is kind of weird, isn't it? So rice, 125 grams of rice. We got some peas, we got some sweet corn. The light there is not very good. We got peas, we got sweet corn. We have chicken. We have some of this stuff. which is essentially just like satay sauce paste. So mix this with a bit of almond milk, some actual almond butter, and boom, we have a satay basically. So I also did add in some chili oil to this, as always, and that's macros done for the day. So yeah, that is pretty much today wrapped up. Leg day. Hopefully by next video I'll have my DJI sorted. Maybe not, because I'm yet to submit the request, so we'll hold off on that one. But I do need to learn how to prop this up on tripods a little bit more, because this is my Sony, which I've used many times before, but I forgot how bad this lens is. It's very, very close up. It is not zoomed in. This is just as bad as the lens is. We need to get a new one. But anyway, we're gonna get this meal in. That is 250 grams of protein done, 600 grams of carbs, 70 grams of fat. Too easy. Alright, catch you in the next one.